Are you seriously going to eat, you fat blibbity blabbity blob?
I mean, some of you might be like,
Continue.
why would I want to start this?
Sensitive. She's sensitive.
You are listening to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast, where we share stories that are, you guessed it, unscripted.
That's the thing, this journey doesn't stop.
It doesn't really
right?
end. We have a general sense of the topic each episode, but really the whole point is just to show up and be authentic and let our inner child speak its truth. And I have continued to work through that story of constantly hearing, well, we don't want got a hot dog on our hands. Yeah, guess what, Mr. Sabatsky, you do. So I'm so excited that you are here, and it is my hope that you hear yourself somewhere in the story so that way you can feel seen and heard as well. So let's start talking. Welcome to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast. I am so excited to bring you guys today's episode. It has been a week, and this episode could not have been more divinely timed than it was. It was like a little therapy session for myself because it's exactly what I needed to be reminded of, and so much of what this podcast is about, and just how do we feel emotionally safe and regulated and all of those things. So my guest, Cassandra Quick, who I'll introduce you to here in a moment, was my guest this week, and her and I met years ago. She's been in my orbit ever since, but just in this last year has become more prominent in my life in the best ways. And not only is she one of those women who supports women and empowers women, but she is just such a pure, genuine soul, someone that I consider a soul sister. And even though we've only known each other for months, it's like we've known each other for years and for lifetimes. And so those are my kind of people. And so I'm so excited for you to be able to hear from her today and her expertise. And so I will give you her official intro to do her justice. So Cassandra is a holistic psychotherapist and trauma specialist with over 20 years of experience helping high-performing women heal from emotional wounds and reconnect with their inner wisdom. Oof, so you can tell already, this is like, oh yeah, this is totally your jam, Tami. After navigating her own journey through trauma, through divorce, through burnout, she created a beautiful program that she talks about on this episode called the Illuminate Blueprint, and actually offers that within a course as well. And so we'll talk all about that on the episode. But really what this blueprint is designed for is to offer a safe and supportive path for women who are ready to reclaim their power. Her course blends evidence-based modalities like EMDR, informed techniques, mindfulness, somatic practices, and trauma-conscious yoga. What? That can help you regulate your nervous system and rise to your most grounded and empowered self. So what I love about Cassandra and the episode that we shared is so much of my journey. I've just intuitively been guided in doing these things and finding these people and finding these coaches and all these different modalities. And then here's Cassandra. Just like, gosh, if I would have found her a few years ago, wow, how different this journey could have looked and been and felt. But I obviously know I went on my journey the way I went on it for a reason. But what an amazing resource for those of you that are just embarking on this and feeling that burnout. And something that I want to highlight is when we talk about high-performing women, sometimes we automatically think businesswomen, CEOs. I don't know about you, but if you're a mom, you are high-performing. I think just women in general, just don't let your ego tell you stories like, oh, well, this isn't for me. Bullshit. Every woman is high-performing in some way, shape, or form, whether it's just keeping it all together, get all the plates spinning in the air, whatever it is that you do, but you are feeling stuck or burnt out at home or at work or whatever it is, this episode is absolutely for you. So I will get right to that, but I also wanted to say thank you to everyone that reached out. We finally made the announcement about opening the F45 gym this last week. Hopefully you got a chance to watch that podcast episode. If not, I will put that at the end for you to click on so you can hear about how that all came about for me and Andrea. And what was so interesting, and I shared a little bit about this on the episode with Cassandra, is that making that announcement, even though this has been months in the making, it actually started back in December when it first contemplating opening a gym. Fast forward until June, you think you got a lot of time to work through this stuff and process it. And there was a lot that came up throughout that process of just worthiness and all of this stuff, all of these childhood wounds. But man, oh man, when you put it out there into the world where people can judge and project and all of those things, it brings up a whole other level of feelings and wounds. And because the second I hit post Sunday morning, my ego started causing a ruckus. And it was very interesting how so much of what Cassandra talks about is what I had to go through myself on Sunday when putting myself out there like that. And so this work is ongoing, and there are so many tools out there for each and every one of us, regardless if you're opening a gym or not, whatever you got going on in your life. The tools that she talks about in this episode are so important and apply literally to everything. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for those of you that reached out, that commented on the post, that liked it, whatever you did, just to help celebrate an incredibly monumental moment in my life and my kids' life. It was pretty huge, and I definitely felt all of it. And even today, I kind of feel like I got hit by a truck just energetically and emotionally because it's been so much, but in the best way. So I just wanted to take a moment to give a very sincere thank you for those of you that took a moment to click like or click the heart or make a comment or send a text. You have no idea how much those simple actions mean to an entrepreneur, someone who just took a big, scary, massive risk. Because you can know in your soul that it's what you're meant to do, but man, it can still be scary. And so when you have what feels like this tribe come around you and be like, no, girl, you got this, we're cheering you on, that is priceless. And I'm so grateful, whether I know you personally or not, or if I've ever met you in person. That meant a lot to me, and it means a lot to me. And I want to continue to show up in ways that pours back into all of you. And so thank you so much for just being an amazing human, an amazing soul, and for encouraging people who are taking big, scary leaps and risks to follow their purpose and their passion to help other people. So thank you so much. Okay, I will get on to the episode. It's a good one. Please, as you know, same thing, even with episodes like this, if it resonates in any way, please like it, comment, share it with someone that it might help. All of those things help get these messages out to more people. That is why we are doing this, because Cassandra and I know that this message needs to get out there so that more people, not just women, even though she specializes with women, can go on this journey, get the support that they need, heal their inner child, and actually live a life that lights them up. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy this episode. Can I have some therapy before we get started? That's how I'm starting this.
I'm here to help ground.
Yes.
We could both ground each other right
Here we
now
go.
and be in the space together.
We are. We're doing that right now. All right. I'm good.
Okay.
All right. I am here with my guest, Cassandra Quick. And her and I met, again, shocking as always, in the gym locker room many years ago.
Yes. Yes. It has been a long time.
Probably 4 years.
Yes. I think it's been about 4 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not even at that gym location anymore.
I know. How dare you?
I know. I'm over on the east side now.
Yeah. So I remember talking in the locker room, and I don't even remember how it started, but it was just like, oh, what do you do? Like small talk between women, and then finding out what you do. And I was like, oh my goodness,
and that was the same for me as well.
Yeah. Not that I do what you do, but just kind of in the same world, dancing the same dance in terms of
holistic health.
Yeah.
All of those wonderful things that we do to take care of ourselves. Yeah. And of course, like in the gym, that's our happy place.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we found each other on social media and just stayed connected. And now here we are. The universe kind of brought us together. And I think the more that I have dove into the work that I'm doing now, the more prominent you were coming into my life. And so today's episode, as I was reviewing her website and her courses, I was like, am I her ideal client?
Yeah.
Truly.
I'm my ideal client.
Let me read this. High-performing, heart-centered women holding it all together. I was like, that is literally me this week of just,
and it's sometimes me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just because we have done the healing we've done in our own ways, and you'll hear lots about what I have done in my life to get to the place I'm at in my life right now, doesn't ever stop.
Yeah.
And we have curveballs thrown at us, whether it be planetary curveballs or energetic curveballs or financial curveballs or, whatever it might be. That's part of life. And then how we navigate that, how we work with our nervous system to move through that, and the support systems that we have around us, like wonderful, incredible friends.
Yeah. Well, and I love when she mentioned planetary. So we were supposed to record this last Friday, and it was the summer solstice, and I woke up feeling like I got hit by a truck.
Yeah. And so did I.
And in my own way. Normally, my people pleaser would be like, you got to suck it up, Tami. You can't disappoint her. You can't let her down and reschedule this. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not in the right energy.
Yeah.
She deserves me and my best energy.
That's right.
Listeners deserve me and my best energy. And I was not there. I would have.
Right.
And I couldn't even have faked it.
Yes. And I was so grateful.
Right. That was what
we were both like, I'm like, oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
let's just do a redo. And today's the day.
And it's so interesting that sometimes the things that we fear on the other side of it, there was literally nothing to fear about that. And I think we can build those stories in our head like, oh, what if, I disappoint her, I do this. And really, it actually ended up being a blessing. And think about how many times we do that.
Literally such a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Right. I mean, over the course of my personal and professional career, taking care of yourself, taking care of your needs, right? Like, I mean, that is a huge part of the work I do, the work you do. And I encourage that in the listeners, and, just taking care of yourself and like slowing down a little bit. And like sometimes there are going to be times when you want to kind of push yourself, you want to challenge yourself, you want to show up in a different energy. But like that just was not the day.
That was not the day. And I was like, if anyone can understand this, it's her. So I'm going to reach out.
Oh, yes. That's right. That's right.
It's so interesting of how people that are meant to be in your life will find their way back into your life. And it's just like you kind of kept orbiting around until I was ready to have a friendship on this level, to have a woman that's doing this kind of work on this level in my life right now.
Yep.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Probably not the time, but you're going to want to remember her. And you're going to.
we were definitely crossed paths for a reason.
Absolutely.
Like that absolutely happened for a reason.
Yes.
And then, of course, like, when I saw the work you were doing and your podcast and like inner child.
Right.
Oh. Yes.
Did we just become best friends?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So without even having that like layer of connection, that is such a way to connect is to talk about like these parts of us. So in the work that I do as a therapist, we have this model called the internal family systems model. So the inner child, our wise self, like all of these parts. And we all have parts, every single one of us. Some of us have anxious parts that come up to protect us. Some of us have these parts that kind of want to keep us small sometimes. And just to be aware of like how that comes up and like talking about it. And we talk about it without even knowing. Like I will literally be at dinner or out to lunch or out to coffee, and I'll hear people talking about their parts. I'm like, oh, this part of me felt this. I'm like,
did you know what you just said?
I just got to witness the part.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I love that you brought that up, because when I think about my career path, when I left UW Health System as a dietitian and went into private practice, and while that was not an ideal situation and became kind of toxic, I know the one nugget I needed to get there was that.
Right.
Because she had practiced in internal family systems. We went to a conference with Richard Schwartz, and I was just like,
oh my gosh.
My brain exploded. And it was like everything connected, because as an emotional binge eater,
oh yes,
it everything clicked. I'm like, oh my gosh, I understand why I have been so restrictive for some of my life. That part tried to protect me, but my rebellious part also tried to protect me. And all of a sudden I had such a different understanding, and I wasn't beating myself up anymore for falling into those patterns, because I could see how both were protection.
Right. And they're not bad parts.
They're not bad parts.
That's the thing, that like Richard Schwartz teaches is that, and he has a book, No Bad Parts. Those aren't bad parts of us. They
No.
have protected us, and we can recognize those parts, and you can work on healing those parts, integrating the parts, right? And that is a part of, that definitely is a part of healing in general. So, I mean, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That, like, I have not been in his presence, so.
Oh, I know. I felt like, oh,
Right,
and I
I
didn't even
know.
know like the greatness that I was witnessing that day until I come home, and now I'm like immersed in this work. And like, I just got
He's
to
a
see a
legend.
legend, a legend. And it just made so much sense. And I love how it allows people to look at their stories through a different lens,
Mhm.
a lens of curiosity, of compassion,
Right.
of understanding, and then
Right.
healing, because
Right.
now I can speak to those
Right.
parts. I'm not beating myself up anymore because I
No.
just went on
No.
a emotional binge eating spree. Like now I'm like,
Right. Whew.
wow, you didn't want me to feel
Yeah.
rejected.
Yes.
And so you had the
Yes.
best of intentions.
Right.
Feels like self-sabotage, but really I understand it.
Yep. And right. And like, without going into a lot of detail, because I can't talk about my client cases
Yeah.
and information, I do actually have some additional training. So I'm an EMDR therapist,
Yeah.
certified in EMDR. And I am also trained in how to integrate IFS with EMDR, and then also just did an eating disorder training as well. And I am not an expert in eating disorders, but it comes up in my work.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
and specifically, binge eating
Yep.
tends to be one of the predominant eating disorders, or maybe not an eating disorder, but some sort of a tendency towards that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to understand
Yeah.
a little bit more on how to help my clients. And it is just like the combination of like all of those, with other work, with nervous system work, with mindfulness, with trauma conscious yoga, with all of these different, and EFT, so the emotional freedom technique. When you use the wisdom in your body and you tune in to all of those components, and then you're able to kind of trace back, well, where does this start for you? Where does this story start for you? How early of a feeling is this for you to feel rejected in your life? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, those cues can lead us to where to start in the process of EMDR, for example. So it is powerful, and one of the most grateful parts of what I do, one of the best parts of my work, is to be able to hear from a woman I work with, because I work with women exclusively, um, that they noticed a change in the way that they are looking at food when they're going into a grocery store, and that they're talking to the cupcakes, and
Yeah.
they're like, "You look so good. I'm going to have you another time," And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
That's like really powerful when you start to see
Yes.
those shifts, when it becomes conscious.
Yeah.
That is
Game changer.
the ticket, right? Like, because we live so much in our subconscious states. And that is a lot of the work that I do too, because you can experience, when you experience trauma, you can experience dissociation, like, right? I mean, like, you don't even know what you're doing.
Uh-uh.
Right. And like, those are your parts, like coming up, protecting your nervous system is in freeze, or, whatever it might be. And when we learn to connect, there's a couple things that happen.
Yeah.
I know you've had this happen, I'm sure, and I know I've had this happen, that when you numb out, when you tune out, when you're not connected, or when you're in this like really like hyper vigilant state,
Yep.
it's like a lot of emotions. But when you're in that freeze, when you're in that shutdown, when you start to feel feelings,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's like, what is happening right now?
Uh-huh.
Like, and I see that happen so much with my clients. Like, literally, they are feeling angry for the first time in their lives.
Yep.
30, 40, 50, 60-year-old women.
Yep.
Literally never able to experience anger.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't safe for them to experience it and be in a space where they had someone say, go get a pillow and scream in it as loud as you want. Well, if that is aligned to you,
Yeah, right?
right? Like just go let it out. And, after our session, get in your car, go to the Target parking lot
Yep.
or like go to a beautiful field and like scream
Uh-huh.
at the top of your lungs, like just
Yeah.
let it out. And so when we honor what's been trapped, in our bodies
Yeah.
for so long, you can experience just so much, and it's like cathartic and it's like letting it out, but then it's like, oh, is there something wrong with me? Like, is this too much? Like then all these other
Mm-hmm. It's like the floodgates.
yeah, like then all these other parts come up, or negative core beliefs is what we work with in EMDR. We like kind of integrate that in to the work. And oh, yeah, it's so good. It's like peeling away like the onion, peeling away experiences in our lives and being able to feel those feelings for the first time.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about this holding it all together, that's not just as a woman, as a little girl.
Right.
Think about how many times
Yes.
just that conditioning. And there's certainly there's many
Yes.
stories for
Oh my
men and
gosh.
little boys too,
Yes,
right? Like don't cry
absolutely.
and all that
Right.
stuff. Well,
Oh, all the messaging.
all the messaging, all
Right.
the conditioning. And so part of doing this work is allowing your inner child to know it actually is safe and okay to feel the full range of your emotions.
That's
But
right.
that's scary as an adult to not have never really felt anger or rage before. Then that comes out and you're like, whoa, you don't feel safe. And it's like, how
Yes.
can I
Right.
do that in a safe,
Right.
supportive space?
Right. Or that it was bad.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's bad, it's sinful, it's, they're
Weak.
weak. Yeah. Like, just suck it up.
Yeah.
Like just suck it up. That's not how our bodies work. It's not actually how our brains work.
Right.
When we have been through trauma, our brains are rewired in a way that doesn't allow us to move on.
Mm.
And that's how EMDR helps. EMDR helps rewire, it helps reprocess trauma memories. So you can look at situations in a different way, in adaptive ways,
Mhm.
and make sense of what happened. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I've experienced it myself. EMDR literally changed my life. And I talk about that a little bit in my masterclass.
Yeah.
My free masterclass.
Yes.
And the masterclass like tells a little bit more of my story and kind of like, what I went through. But that definitely is a game changer.
Yeah.
So
Can you share a little bit about the difference between big T trauma or what we would think of maybe small T
mhm.
traumas, but in terms of complex post-traumatic stress? Because I
Sure.
feel like
Right.
that's a lot of who I deal with, but it
Right.
hasn't been out there. It's not labeled. And like, unless you've had this big T trauma, people don't feel like they can validate their stories and experiences.
Oh, right.
And so allowing them to look at the fact that you had a perfect family on paper, but you
Oh,
walked on eggshells your entire life to be the perfect child. Like there's something there and you deserve to look at that.
thank you for saying that, because I work with high performing women. You're a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
You are high level manager. You own your own business. You
Mhm.
have your own podcast. Yes, you have your own gym.
I do now. I do. Yay,
Congratulations.
that's right. Oh yeah, me. I
That
do.
was like that was super strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. That's true.
So, and then I'm here to celebrate with you.
Yes.
It's amazing. So, those women that, and you don't even have to be a CEO. You could be a stay-at-home mom.
Mhm.
Like you could have lots on your plate, right? Because high performing is different.
Yeah.
Like that's different for every person, like
Yes.
what that means for them,
Yeah.
right? But what I identify as my ideal client, because like you juggle all these things, you're juggling kids, you're juggling maybe going through a divorce, maybe there's a crisis in your family and you're caretaking for your parents, or whatever it might be, and you get lost. Usually women seek me out now because they know I do EMDR, and I exclusively take clients on to do EMDR. That's all I do. I mean, and not to say that's all I do every single session, because whatever the unique needs are of my clients, but I take on
Yeah.
complex trauma.
Yeah.
And when I have these consultation calls with potential clients, so we talk about just what you talked about. We talk about the big T traumas, we talk about the little T traumas. And then obviously complex PTSD is when you have lots of traumas happen in your life where you had a trauma and you haven't been given the opportunity to really heal from that. And then another trauma happens. And then another trauma.
Yeah.
It's just compounded. So that is complex trauma. And then we have big T traumas. We think of like a very typical way to identify someone might be is if they are a war veteran.
Right.
And that is like out there, on the internet, people say, "Oh, well, I didn't go to war." Much respect to our veterans. That is so
Yeah.
so very heavy what they experience. And so we don't compare in the world of trauma treatment. It's like we don't compare
No.
that your trauma was worse than my trauma.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I think people tend to do that. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, I had a great upbringing. I had a
Mhm.
great family,
Yep.
but I was never seen.
Yep.
I had a great family, but we never talked about our feelings.
Uh-huh.
I had a great family and didn't learn the value of taking care of myself and learn independence, or, it created this dependence in me." And, whatever it might be, right? Like all of our stories are different, but those other big T traumas, like we have big T traumas, such as maybe there's a one single thing that happens. For example, car accidents or some, domestic violence or an assault of some kind. Those are very known,
Right.
more extreme experiences. And then we also have these other little T traumas that can be big T traumas for
Yeah.
some people. For example, bullying.
Yes.
That can be a big T trauma for some people, and sometimes it's a little T trauma for others. So it's kind of hard if you're not familiar with that, if you're not familiar with, how do I validate my experience in life? What is trauma to one person isn't trauma to another as well. So it's like it's just, if you think you might have experienced trauma, you talk to a professional, right? And talk to a friend who's open. Just gonna say, "Oh yeah, I wonder if this is considered trauma." And I have that has been one of the treatment goals for some of my clients is to identify, have I experienced trauma?
Yeah.
And so I go through an assessment with my clients. All of my clients, as they come in, we do an assessment. We talk about what they're experiencing, what their symptoms are. And, a diagnosis sometimes is helpful. I look at it as oh, yeah, you've been experiencing all these things maybe
Yes.
entire life, and you've never been diagnosed with PTSD. Now that you've been diagnosed with PTSD, that could be validating.
Right.
It could be empowering.
Yes.
It could, it could give you a path. And guess what? It's not a life sentence.
Right. And it doesn't have to define you either, or be that
does
thing where it's like,
not.
well, I have this, so, and it's like now your excuse or your escape. Oh, no.
Right.
Let it empower you.
There can be some healing that happens.
Yes.
And then the most beautiful part, one of the most beautiful parts of my job is to help women get to the point that they don't have PTSD anymore. And it is literally documented. You were at a 60 on this assessment and you're at a 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, wow. And that is when we have a way to measure that, right? And it's not only about assessments and diagnoses and all these things, right? But that is a way to look at, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm not feeling all of these things that I was feeling before. And we just we live our lives every single day. And sometimes it's we don't even notice the changes. It's pretty powerful when you can look at that and
Right. I just
and do the
responded
work.
very differently than I
You're
would have in the
right.
past.
Oh
Look at
my
me.
gosh. I can absolutely remember one of the first times, I can see it right now. One of the first times that I was able to be calm in a space of potential
Yeah.
anxiety that I could have felt in a previous part of my life. And that was when I was doing EMDR. And I just spoke up for myself. And I wasn't concerned about what the outcome was going to be.
Yeah.
I knew, and this was in like a previous relationship of mine, and I just like knew I had to speak my truth. And I was just,
Whoa. What
right?
just happened here?
And that's the standard now,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the standard, like speaking up for yourself, even though it might be hard, it might be tough, it might be, you might get rejected.
Yeah.
There might be something going on for that other person where it's hard for them to hear that. They have their own parts, their own
Yes.
trauma
Yes.
that they have showing up in that conversation. So,
And I think that's this interesting side perk, probably isn't the right word, but just when you have looked at your own story and you recognize your own parts and your own trauma and your own ego and how it shows up, you can see
Right.
it in other people. And all of a sudden you can
Yeah.
have understanding and compassion for that too. And be like,
right,
wow, I totally
Yeah.
understand why you did that, why you said that.
right.
And I have also had to learn, like, I can have unconditional love for people, but that doesn't necessarily mean unconditional tolerance, because I can understand
Ooh, yes,
why
that
I
is-
was treated this
yeah.
way. That
Oh,
doesn't mean
yeah.
I have to tolerate it.
That's right.
Yeah, because that was a hard lesson I had to learn. I
Because-
understand it and I get it. And they're like, but you don't need to be the punching bag always.
Right. Because then you abandon yourself.
100%.
And I have done that so many times.
Yeah.
Right. And we can show up for ourselves. We can show up for our inner child.
Yes.
Ooh, that is
Mhm.
definitely one of the most powerful interventions, one of the most powerful suggestions I use in my own life and that I suggest to clients is when you are having a tough time or you're in a situation where you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. What would you do for your younger self? One of my nickname when I was growing up was Casey.
Mhm.
That changed in 5th grade.
Uh-huh.
But what would I do for my little Casey?
Yeah.
You know, how would I show up in this way? And that is really, really powerful.
Yeah. I think sometimes for people, even if you have a hard time connecting to your inner child, if you have your own kids, what would I say to them in this
Yes.
situation?
Oh
How would I
my
want them to
gosh.
feel supported? And because that's been a
Right.
game changer for me, is to see my
Right.
kids having big, strong emotions. And I don't want to just shut them
Right.
down. I don't want to just
No.
tell them to go to their room.
Right.
I want my daughter to be able to let it out.
Yeah.
Let that
She
anger and
needs
rage out. I
to
need
be
to
with
let
it.
her.
Right.
But before that would trigger me and threaten me. And I'm like,
Mm.
this isn't about you, Tami, that she needs to move through this. Don't teach her how to
Right.
stuff that down and
Right.
store it down like you
Oh
did.
my gosh. Yeah,
Find a
that's-
healthy way for her to express that. Let her know it's okay for her to express that. And then we'll talk about it when you feel
Right.
emotionally regulated. Right
Right.
now, you're not.
Right. And that is such a good way to kind of get around. Like there are some of my clients do have a little bit of a difficult time connecting
Yeah.
to those parts. And like we work on it.
Yeah.
But nieces, nephews, and they're like, oh, yep.
There's your
Okay.
answer. But that's what I think at some point your inner child is like, you need to do that for me. This is great that you can do this in a loving way for your kids.
Now it's time to show up.
Now it's time to show up
Yep.
for me.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's when my inner child will get a little feisty, a little
She-
tantrumy if I.
Well,
Oh yeah,
she's
feisty.
She's amazing.
She is. She lets me know though, if I have gone too long without tending to her
Yeah.
or
Right.
giving her those same needs.
Right.
She lets me know.
Yep.
And what's so great is that it may not, I need to go on this retreat or something, like, no, I just need to
Right.
check in with her.
Like slow down.
Just slow down, spend a little time.
Get cuddled up under a blanket and read a book.
Yeah. Then I'll go paddleboarding or I'll go outside.
paddleboarding.
But sometimes it literally is just wrapping up in a blanket. I have done that before. I had a tantrum about there weren't any vegetables. And this is no joke. It was truly, there was no vegetables in the house. And
it was a moment.
But it was actually a really interesting moment because I felt literally like I was throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is completely irrational. There was a part of me that knew it wasn't about the vegetables, right? And that's why I love the work that we get to do, because it's never about the thing. Ego will keep you stuck on the surface and make you think it's about the thing or the person and what they said. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It is always
It's
something deeper.
Yeah.
And that wasn't about the vegetables. It was that
Right.
a need wasn't feeling met. I wasn't
Right.
feeling seen.
Right.
Wasn't feeling taken care of.
Right.
And I literally went into the bedroom and wrapped myself under a blanket. I just needed to be held and nurtured
Yes.
by me.
Yes.
by me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we move into attachment.
Oh,
Because I'm
yeah.
like, oh, that's like you're reparenting yourself. You are giving yourself the love and those moments that you needed as a child. And yeah, that could be a whole nother.
Oh, I know. We could literally just
Yeah, I know.
make this the Tami and Cassandra podcast. Just
Like, seriously.
Oh.
But yeah, so those attachment styles, and you could look up information. There's can I say a couple different resources?
Absolutely.
So Diane Poole Healer is really well known for her attachment style quiz. And then there's something on YouTube called the Personal Development School. And that is a website. I cannot remember her name offhand.
We'll throw it in here.
Okay,
The
but
show notes.
we'll
get ya.
throw it in and I'll probably remember it in a moment. But she is really incredible. And I can see the first letter of her name.
Yeah, of course. It's right there.
Perimenopause brain.
Oh my gosh. It's
Oh
a whole
my
other
gosh.
episode. Just because
Yeah, I know.
down.
I
Next
know.
episode.
Attachment, perimenopause. Like, this is right. If you are wondering, like, what is an attachment style, Diane Poole Healer is a really good resource. And then the Personal Development School, she has YouTube videos that are really incredible and relatable. And so it can help you understand, because like there are going to be times in your life, even if you are securely attached primarily, there are going to be times in your life where maybe an anxious comes up, maybe like a little fearful side, maybe a little dismissive.
Yeah.
None of us are 100% secure. And those moments where like those parts of us, those attachment parts of us come up, we can be aware, we can nurture those parts. And, I think about relationship triggers.
Oh my gosh.
And boy, you go through EMDR and you like resolve your PTSD and then get into a relationship. And it's like,
surprise.
Yeah, we're not done yet. Because you can't like
forget about me.
Right. I know. Like, so that you can't
Yeah.
actually experience parts of yourself unless you are in a relationship. And then this is another beautiful part. You can be in a beautiful, healthy relationship, like a secure relationship, and those parts still come up.
Yeah.
Like unresolved parts come up, and it shines a light. It's it's like a gift that our bodies are giving us. So as much as we look at trauma, nervous system dysregulation as like, oh, like it's just like, it's like so much, I can feel it in my body,
Yeah.
right? When we can soften into like just being aware and observing without judgment,
Yeah.
like, okay, let's like recognize this. We can do something about it. We can move through it. We can hide under a blanket. We can give ourselves a hug. We can seek out support from someone else. Maybe it is eating a little bit of chocolate.
And sometimes it is, and that's okay if I can
Like,
recognize
well,
why I'm doing it and honor that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to
Right.
be this unconscious
Right.
thing that I'm doing, emotional
right.
binge eating. Like, oh, this is what feels nurturing for me right now. And
Right.
yeah, it can be a part of that too. Yeah. But I think also when you talk about relationships, maybe when you know each other's childhood wounds, or their attachment styles or their tendencies,
Yes.
that can be so helpful, because now I can meet you
Oh,
in that.
yes. Right.
And know, like, I don't want to trigger that anxious part of you if I just communicate clearly, like, hey, I got to
Yeah.
leave early, or,
Right.
I'm not going to be able to call you because
Yes.
I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Like, just those little
Like
things.
communication, understanding, compassion.
Yeah.
That is a very loving act.
Yeah. Or if I know I'm going through something, to be like, hey, you know what? I'm just moving through something. It's not about you,
Yes.
but I might be a little, I
Yeah.
just need some space. I need
Right.
some distance.
Right.
Not from you, but I just need to be with
Yes.
myself. Like,
And I need to be with myself. I'll talk to you tonight.
yeah.
Or there are so many stories that
So many. I know.
I'm like, whoop, there's a memory coming
Yeah,
up. I'm like,
same.
oh yeah.
I got
like,
them for days.
like, yeah. I just need a little space, and then
Mhm.
never talk to you again.
Right. Oh.
In my dating life, I
Yeah.
have experienced this.
Yeah.
And I talk about that on my dating podcast.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, we recorded 6 episodes of that last year, and that was super fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, right. And so this is a good lead in to how I met my current
Yeah. Yeah.
partner, my wonderful boyfriend,
Uh-huh.
Andrew, through you.
Through me, through this podcast. I'm a freaking matchmaker, yo. Add that to the resume.
That is it. It's so seriously.
Yeah.
You talked about divine timing.
Truly.
It's just divine connection. So yeah, so maybe we could talk about relationships a little bit and like how that like
Yeah.
relates a little bit to some of this work, right? And how it brings up these unhealed parts in us, the attachment. But just recognizing how amazing you are. Because the orbit
Oh my gosh.
included Andrew, right? So here's the story. I had dated last year, had a brief relationship in the beginning of the year, and then was on online dating like from April until December.
Just
And
very brave of you.
I can't remember all the statistics, but I
Whew.
know I was ghosted almost 35% of the time. I calculated everything. And I wasn't tracking. I actually did not track, and it wasn't like an experiment or something like
Right.
that. It was just very authentic. I wanted to be out there. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to kind of see what I want, what I don't want.
Can I just say how secure you have to be within yourself to do that? Because that
yeah.
could mess up a lot of people. Like that would
But
trigger
again,
a lot of
but
people.
And
it still did,
and yes, I would say I was mostly secure. But there was some anxious attachment that I had to work on the beginning of the year
Yeah.
with that other relationship and how it ended. And I did the work. Like I
Yep.
recognized, I was like, oh,
Oh.
and I took that to my EMDR therapist.
Yep. That's a me thing. I need to go to work on that.
Yep. And so, so I did that. And I experienced lots of really wonderful people
Yeah.
and some just who were not meant for me.
Yep.
I'll leave it at that. But you get to see like age doesn't matter
Mhm.
in healing.
Right.
And I think, people say, oh, but he's like this, however old, or he has this business or blah, blah, blah. It's like,
None of that matters.
it doesn't.
No, it's like a soul sees a soul and yeah.
Right. And so, and I think about that too. Like, just as I was ending the year, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm not going to do online dating anymore. So I stopped. And I was like, I'm done with online dating. But I kept open that energy of,
Yes.
I know my person is out there.
Mhm.
And so it just so happened that I was scrolling on the new moon.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know that part of the story.
It was the new moon. I was scrolling on Facebook and I saw an episode with you and Andrew.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, he's quite handsome.
Yeah. Let me press play on that episode.
Play. And then I was like, like he's talking about
Yeah. Masculine and feminine energy and healing
yes,
and
right. And it just drew me in. And like obviously both of you are just beautiful souls. And then of course making sure he's single, and he was, and I reached out and we chatted, and then I asked him for coffee, and then he asked me on a date instead of just coffee, and the rest is history.
the rest is history.
And so yeah, so that is a really beautiful story.
It's a beautiful story.
And
Talk
so
about two people who have done the work. And
yes, and we continue to.
yes,
right?
continue to. It doesn't just
Right?
end. And now
It's
you need
like-
to integrate and kind of co-regulate with each other.
Right. And I say these things. I suggest like, oh yeah, like just because you think you're done with healing, we're never done with
No.
healing. Healing is a journey. As much as we just click, like we get each other, we show up for each other, we're, all these wonderful, beautiful things. There are moments.
Yeah.
that kind of come up. And in relationships, how do you solve problems together? How are you navigating, life and communication, and like communication about like maybe like a soccer game or something like
Yeah.
that, but communication about your feelings
Ooh.
when like, and that is hard sometimes, and it is vulnerable. But oh my gosh, Brene Brown,
Yeah.
Vulnerability brings connection,
It does. It
right?
really, really does.
Like when you can just be present and you can show your emotion, you can be human, because like we're all human, we all have emotion, we all show up. So it has been beautiful and wonderful. And then I look at different relationships. I look at like these different relationships, and that I've had some other positive relationships in the beginning, and then they didn't last, and we know why, right? It
Yeah.
just wasn't a good fit. But you can kind of see like, oh,
Yep.
yeah, there was a part of me that didn't want to share this part of me with
Yep.
this person.
Yep.
And I like was protecting myself or whatever. But like with this person, I feel
Mhm.
like held and I feel supported. And like you have a sense of what safety is for you.
Yeah.
And for someone with trauma, that
Safety
is
is gold.
foundational.
Mhm.
If you do not have safety, that is foundational. Even to be able to like speak your needs.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, like,
Like you can
yeah,
feel it. It's right there, but you
yeah,
can't get it to come out. And man, I've
right,
been there many times.
right. And so, yeah, so to have safety, a safe container for processing and moving through, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's
Yeah, it's
that's
real.
that's quite a story.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
interesting too. I just recently had a situation where I'm very intuitive. I read energy very quickly.
Yes.
Where I have to be careful is that once I read energy, that my ego doesn't swoop in to create a story around why that person shifted their energy or this or that. Like that's where I'm like, ooh, hold up.
Ooh,
My ego
yes.
is a sprinter and a marathon runner and will just take off running for days.
So here's the problem, right? Like, here it is.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I can assess this. But what's interesting is sometimes when we check in with somebody, like, hey, are you okay? Like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Or,
Ooh,
but you're not. And so if I read that correctly, the most compassionate thing you can do or kind thing you can do is to validate that. Like, 'cause again, I think as a kid, how many times as parents we put on the face, but your kids can read you like a book.
oh my,
And every time that
yes.
you
Oh,
cover it up
yes.
and lie, you teach them how to disconnect because they sensed one thing, but you told them another.
That's right.
And we teach
Oh my
disconnection from a very
gosh.
young age. And so now with my kids, like I will let them know, like, no, your intuition was spot on. I was off.
Right.
It wasn't about you because
Yes.
I don't want their ego to take
Validating.
that story and run.
Right. Yes. Like validating. And how confusing
Yeah.
is that? Like that teaches them they can't
Mhm.
gauge
Yep.
the emotions around them.
Right.
And then they start
Yeah.
not gauging any emotion around them.
Yep. Just
Right.
gonna
Like,
shut it all down.
yeah, right. And and that's extreme, but it can happen.
Yeah.
Like that can happen. Yeah, kids are barometers
They really are. But then now
for
we're adults
yeah.
and
Mhm.
we don't trust that internal system that we
Right.
have anymore.
Right.
And so being honest with people, or if someone reads you right, and you could even say, like, yeah, you're right, my energy is a little off. I don't need to talk about it, or I don't want to talk about it. I'm
Right.
not ready to talk about it. But
Right.
yeah, you're right. Like something
Right.
is
Like
off.
yes.
But
Yes,
sometimes I think
exactly.
we try to protect that person from saying something when really it ends up can do more damage. And I've noticed that where sometimes my effort to protect like my daughter, I'd be like,
Right.
I didn't want to tell you that because really that was my own thing.
Right. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And one of the things I work with my clients on, so it's like our anxious attachment wants to make sure everything's okay.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And if you are in a relationship with someone who tends to be a little dismissive or avoidant,
I dance on both.
that can be
Uh-huh.
triggering for them. That can activate their nervous system to pull away.
Yeah.
And I was just having a conversation with a client yesterday about this, and we talked about it doesn't serve you to validate your experience by asking someone else.
Yeah.
How you can do that is you can say, I'm noticing XYZ.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Right? Because you are valid in what you are
I
experiencing.
love that. That's a great
right?
shift in perspective.
Right?
Yeah.
You are valid in noticing tone shift.
Mhm.
You are valid in noticing an eye twitch or like something, right? I mean, because like we are like that. We are highly sensitive, intuitive, in tune. I am an empath. I think you're an empath.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, right. That's why
Very
we're
much
friends.
so.
That's
Yes,
why we're friends.
exactly.
But like we can notice those little things. And so then, yeah, like just kind of checking in. For some people, being seen in that way is so incredibly threatening
Uh-huh.
that even with that,
Yep.
they can say, "Oh no, I'm fine." Okay, well, I did notice that, and if and when you're ready to talk about that, I'm here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Boom.
like, okay, like, and then I'm gonna go nurture myself and my inner child,
Yep.
and like validate I was feeling what I was feeling.
Yeah.
It is accurate. This is not like my
Mhm.
trauma speaking
Yeah.
and telling me something different, because I think like in the world of trauma work, like our trauma can tell us sometimes that something is wrong and it's not necessarily, right? And so that's confusing sometimes to be like, oh, well, is it my intuition speaking? Is my gut telling me something? Is my intuition speaking, or is this my trauma?
Yeah.
Or is it a little bit of both, which is super fun too, right?
Right.
You know,
Well, and what are some ways that you help people identify which is which?
right. So, I mean, part of it is going to be tuning into your body.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that I'm trained in is trauma conscious yoga, and I am a registered yoga teacher as well. And moving through that, tuning into our energy centers in the body, our chakras, and our gut speaks to us
Mm-hmm.
quite often, right? And sometimes when you experience trauma, it's like your gut is activated because of trauma. And so that can be kind of confusing to figure out, is this trauma? Is this intuition? And I think part of it is getting to the root of what's the situation? What are the thoughts that are driving this feeling? And whatever that is, if it's anxiety, if it's fear, if it's disappointment or whatever. And then what are your actions? What is your body doing?
Yeah.
If you can kind of look at that and you can figure it out usually, or make an educated guess about your unique situation, because it's so complex. It can be just so utterly complex. And then sometimes, like, maybe it would be helpful for someone to like actually know, is this trauma or is this my
Yeah.
intuition?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, okay, well, I'm just honoring this as my experience. I don't know what it is, but like I'm just going to do what I can to regulate my nervous system.
Yeah.
And whatever that might be, maybe it's a breathing technique that we can do to ground ourselves. And when we look at our inner child, when we look at like taking care of our current state, ourselves, right? Our wise selves, because like we have that wise self in
Mm-hmm.
us
Yes.
already,
You do.
right now. You have it in you. We all have it. And so then tuning into that, like, what do I need right now?
Mm-hmm.
Not like, what do I need to say to this person to
Right.
get them to tell me what's wrong?
Right.
What do I need
Need.
right now? Right. And I could go on and on about the years of experience and the training experiences of our childhood and middle school years and high school years, college or post high school for some people. And then relationships and breakups and divorce and all these things that happen to us shape
Yeah.
all of this
Yeah.
within us. Our nervous system, a lot of times, is really just shot.
Yeah.
And so being able to tune in. So part of my Illuminate Blueprint,
Yes. Let's talk about that.
which is the masterclass that I have, is teaching Illuminate, Repattern, and Rise, which is the 3-step
Mhm.
method in my blueprint. And so illuminating is noticing. Okay, I'm not judging. I'm mindful about this. I'm noticing this is my feeling. I am looking at this with loving energy and not judging energy. Like, if you are judging that anger, if you're judging that fear, if you're like,
Yeah.
I shouldn't feel this way. Why shouldn't you feel that way if someone ghosted you?
Right.
Like, why shouldn't you feel anxious if someone ghosted you?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Stop shitting on yourself.
you
Truly.
know,
Just
and
stop.
I'm like, like, and I had to like go through that myself last year a little bit more. And I had thought I had worked on
Right.
thought I'd worked on that. And then I experienced it and it was like
Mhm.
just cut off. Right. And so I had to like really dive into that and notice like, oh my gosh, I was so dysregulated.
Yeah.
And it was not about me.
Right.
It was about this other person. And so then, like, if you can shift that and like his behavior wasn't indicative of my value,
Yes.
and like you can really have a good sense of yourself and be very confident and high value woman and all of these things. But then something like that happens and you're like, what's wrong with me?
Uh-huh. Right.
Did I do something wrong? And, and it's like, no. You activated his attachment style.
Uh-huh. You triggered every part of him he wasn't willing to
you
see.
you
Yeah.
you triggered unhealed wounds from trauma, or
Like
like
the little boy wasn't feeling seen or heard or valid. Yeah.
or we were getting too close,
Yep.
and then there needs to be this pulling away. And so yeah, I mean, like that happens, right? And oh, especially in the dating world, right? Like, or just in any relationship. I mean, I work with married couples who are experiencing um, attachment wounds being activated. And that is really, really tough when there's one of the partners is not willing to do the work. And so illuminating, like noticing those patterns, right? Like patterns within you and then being able to notice patterns in others.
Mm.
Like when you said that, like that is really, it's a gift. It can be so incredibly powerful because then you have compassion. Like if someone snaps at you, like, I don't know, like a cashier, like
Yep.
at a store or something, snaps at you, or, like your waitress at a restaurant isn't serving you fast enough or something. It's like, like, like
This isn't
you
about
just
me.
can just take a moment,
Yeah.
like, have some compassion for this person, whatever
Right.
they're experiencing. But because we're in control of our own emotions.
Yes.
And so this illuminate part of the Illuminate Blueprint is to allow us to like take a look. Like we're taking a look, we're becoming aware of our nervous system, we're becoming aware of when are we activated. I like to use the word activation over trigger, but because that's what happens, our nervous system
Yes.
activates. And so learning what activates us and then also tuning in and experimenting with what calms us down, because
Mhm.
sometimes that's going to be different for one
Absolutely.
person versus the other. So,
And on any different day, there's certain
any
things where it's
different
like, today
day,
that is not working. That is not
right.
helping. I need.
Yeah, deep breaths are not working for me right now,
Yep.
right? It's like I need to go take a walk. I need to move. I need
Yeah.
to lift heavy weight.
I need to flip a tire.
I need to flip a tire.
Yep.
I still remember you flipping tires.
We will be doing that at my gym. There was all this equipment like sledgehammers and punching bags. I was like, oh, we are absolutely having a rage session for women. I mean, we will maybe do some for men too, but especially for
Yes!
women.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
that is happening. Mark my word.
Oh boy. I love that. I love that so much. So yeah. So just like taking a look without judgment,
Yeah.
noticing, like that's the first phase, right? And within like sessions that I do with my clients, we do that in the EMDR. The first phases of EMDR, kind of reviewing your story, doing some resourcing, which is like getting your body ready to do the work. We don't just dive in when we're doing trauma work. We have a safe container. So that's what the Illuminate part of the Illuminate Blueprint does: is you establish this container of safety.
Yeah.
And validation, because a lot of times people who are just like go, 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 right? We don't stop for a minute and honor our bodies and honor ourselves and slow down. We don't.
No.
And so we just go, go, go. So the Illuminate repatterning, the repatterning part of the blueprint is really learning skills. So learning somatic skills to help regulate your nervous system. There are lots of different things that you can do, and like integrating vagus nerve exercises. So that like the like humming and singing, and it activates the throat chakra. Our vagus nerve like is really throughout our body, but like, oh, I can just feel it right now. It's like just regulated. I don't know if you
No, I did.
You're like,
no, it's just one of those things where sometimes you don't even know. Like our bodies are so smart.
They
so
are
smart, and they hold so much wisdom.
Yes.
So when I was working at UW and I was a part of our bariatric surgery team, we had the surgeons and the physician
Right.
assistants and the nurses, and we all had this team huddle. And we would have to go around every Monday and talk about the patients that were going through the program.
Right.
And I'm this new dietitian feeling super intimidated with these surgeons. And oh my gosh, like what am I? And every time before it would get to me, I would hum. And one of the surgeons would always make fun of me for that in a very loving way.
Like
And he used to
jovial
sign the
kind of.
emails. He's like, but he'll make fun of me for humming. And then I'm learning about this work. I remember messaging him back like, well, look who was just regulating her nervous system and didn't even know it.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
yep, that's always
Yes.
something. And I'm like, is it because of this awkward silence? Like, no, I was feeling that coming up and just
Yes.
intuitively.
Like dispersing, like calming, and moving into a calm parasympathetic state.
Yeah. But if we can do that
Like-
intentionally to know
Right,
I'm
yes.
going into a situation
Right.
where I'm likely to get
Yes.
activated, how can I support myself beforehand?
Sing.
Yeah. It's just like I'm going on a road trip. Maybe should I bring some snacks and things, but like I'm going to public speak. I'm going
Yes.
to meet an ex. I'm going whatever. How can I
Yes.
support myself?
Yes. So, right. Humming, singing, tapping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the EFT, for anyone who maybe doesn't know what that is, there are acupressure points on your body that are proven to reduce anxiety, reduce our cortisol levels. And I don't have the exact recent statistics from the tappingsolution.com, but I believe it's 40% within 7 minutes.
Wow.
That's kind of crazy.
That's pretty
right?
crazy.
Like that is amazing. And so tapping on those acupressure points, right? Like, so if you've ever seen someone, that was natural, that sigh that I just did.
Yes. Same.
Okay, wait. Okay, yep. We've got under the nose, we have the chin, we have the collarbone, under the arm. There's also one called the gamut point here for depression and pain. It's between the pinky and the ring finger. And this is my favorite, the thymus hold. So this is at the center of your chest and just applying a little pressure. You don't have to, like, you could just actually just touch it. You don't
Mhm.
even need to apply pressure, but some people like that pressure. And then you can also do the butterfly tap, which is very slow tapping. So underneath that collarbone here, just slow tapping. And then noticing that, like, when you're breathing, how are you breathing? Are you
Mhm.
shallow breathing? Are you belly breathing? Those are just some quick tips to just ground yourself. So that's repatterning. When you show your body that you are taking care of it,
Yes.
there's trust established with that.
Oof, that is everything, right? Like if your inner child can trust you, or even
got
your
you.
parts and your ego to be like,
I've got
you
you.
don't need me to numb with food.
Oh, yeah, right.
I can trust you to
Right?
actually allow her to feel this.
Yes.
Oh.
Imagine that, right? Right. I mean, and that's like really new for some people,
Yeah.
right? And tapping is definitely my go-to if you experience anxiety. I've tapped for the last 5+ years now. In the pandemic, I was introduced to tapping through the Tapping Solution. They gave therapists a free membership for, I think it was like 2 years, and I still have the app. I love it. And it is really incredible. And I teach my clients now. I'm trained in EFT and I'm trained in the trauma tapping technique. So this is part of the trauma tapping technique, the thymus hold, and it's my favorite. Like you can see,
Or think about how
you
often
can
I
already
do that
see.
without even without
Right.
even knowing that
Right.
was
And that's what we do. What do we do? This is an acupressure point.
we do.
So this is called camouflage EFT. You can just literally be at a meeting. I mean, and it might be like you might want to just kind of gauge what kind of message that sends if you're, you know.
No, don't do it.
So maybe right. Yeah, that might send a message that you don't want to send.
I'm just regulating my nervous system over here. Also, F you.
Right, exactly. So you can just hide.
Yeah.
You could just hide this underneath the table. This is the karate chop point here on the side of the hand too. You can just hold that in your lap and just regulate your nervous system. So I always say this. I'm like, our bodies are sending us messages. It's beautiful. It's a gift that it's sending us a message that something is off. And So not judging it, like
Yeah.
not judging it, but like, and not like just rushing in to change it, right? Because
Right.
that's not a mindful, it's like, oh, nope, like I'm
Can't feel that.
dysregulated.
Yep.
Oh, I need to
Yep.
like push it down, or, that's not what we're doing.
Right.
We're recognizing, we're having a conversation with ourselves, like, what's going on? I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, where am I feeling it in my body?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, oh, my heart's beating really fast right now.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm like super, super stressed about this thing. And just like,
Yeah.
so just working with that and sensing into paying attention to our bodies. And sometimes it's really new for people. So,
We become so disconnected from our bodies.
right.
We
And
were
so,
taught how to not trust our bodies. So this is
right.
huge.
So, I mean, even if you're just touching,
Mhm.
just light touch, you don't have to tap
Mhm.
every point. You can tap, you can hold, you can massage, and you can interchange it. It doesn't have to be in order. Like, there's no right way to do it.
Yeah. What I love about this is because so often we are taught to search outside of ourselves for solutions. And there are certainly a time and place
Yeah,
for medications and things like that.
absolutely.
But when you think about how often we turn to substance, we feel something and we quickly need
Yep.
to numb it. We
Yep.
quickly need to
Yep.
suppress it. We'll go drinking, we'll
Right.
start scrolling, we'll start like
Right.
immediately try to
Oh.
shut it down when it's like, no, your triggers are treasures. They are
Oh, yes.
breadcrumbs. Oh, I want to get curious about that. Where is that feeling coming
Yes.
from? My body is saying, hey,
Yes.
there's something
There's
here.
so much wisdom.
So much wisdom. And if we reconnect with that and learn how to trust our body, trust our
Right. Right.
intuition,
Right.
you
Yes.
have that blueprint. Like,
And yes, yes. And so learning to trust your intuition, and that's how you get there
yeah,
is so you asked the question before, like, how can you tell between trauma and
yeah,
intuition? And sometimes it's like, okay, we're being activated because we're in an unsafe situation.
yeah,
Like your body is telling you,
yeah.
hey, you're in an unsafe situation. You need to leave, or you need to set this boundary, or XYZ.
Right.
And knowing and recognizing that. And sometimes that can take a little bit of time to tune into that.
Yeah.
So, repatterning, practicing these nervous system regulation exercises, learning how to meditate in a trauma sensitive way
Yeah.
is really important. I have clients of mine who come to me that are like, meditation doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Oh, I've even said
Okay.
like I'm a crappy meditator.
All right. So, let's talk about this for just a moment.
Yes, truly.
We have 50 to 80,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
You are not going to meditate and clear your mind.
Right.
That is not the purpose.
Right.
I'm here to
Let go
tell
of
you
that.
that is a major myth.
Yeah.
I've been practicing meditation now for, I don't know, 12 years. And I have thoughts all the time.
Yeah. Notice them. Let them come through.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. So they land and you notice and you thank them and you move on. Thank you for reminding me I needed to get gluten-free flour at the grocery store. Or whatever it is. Or oh my gosh, like I'm thinking about like what this person said to me yesterday, whatever it is. Like, those are gifts.
Yeah.
They like that's wisdom our body needs to process or whatever. We also can honor like, okay, those are our thoughts. And we have the ability to tune into our breath.
Yeah.
And so that is the purpose of meditation, is to tune into your breath. And so just taking a moment, like just take a moment, like close your eyes. You can keep them open. You don't have to close your eyes when you meditate. It is really helpful to keep your eyes open if you fall asleep when you meditate.
That's me. My post-workout meditation, which always ends in a nap.
I mean, like, but that's not that, but
Right.
that's not bad, right? Because your body is like so relaxed
Yeah.
that you are falling asleep. That's wonderful. That's amazing.
I just
So-
figured I'm time traveling and
all the things are happening. You're going on,
Yep.
planetary
Yep.
trips. So some of the things I hear is that like meditation doesn't work for me, or whatever it is. Guided meditation is really helpful for some people. Like just sitting with your thoughts can actually activate trauma if you are not guided, and
Yeah.
if you don't know that, you could just literally stop. If something is triggering you or activating you, you could stop. If your eyes are closed, you can open them. You can do the 5 senses check in with your body to ground you. Making sure that you don't like think you're doing it wrong,
Right.
because you really
Right.
can't.
That's
Like,
your judgmental
you
part.
can't really do it wrong, right?
You're
Like, if there's
criticizing me for my ability to meditate now? Like, come on.
yes, right. And okay, so you meditated one time this week. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You meditated for 2 minutes. Congratulations. That comparison again. It's like, oh, I'm not doing it for like 10
Got to do
minutes.
it
Like,
perfect. I mean, childhood wounds right there.
right? So just teaching yourself that anytime that you can take time for yourself is
Mhm.
repatterning. You're repatterning your nervous system to start trusting, like trusting that you've got it, trusting that you can regulate. The next stage of the Illuminate Blueprint is rising. And this is the part like that might be part of your life forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the rising part is really tuning in to the wisdom within your body, that wisdom that we have within ourselves, and using what you are starting to be illuminated to, what you're doing to repattern your nervous system, and what are the next steps that are going to help you get to that next level. So, whatever that looks like for you, maybe that means setting better boundaries. Maybe that means going to a therapist. Maybe that means going to the gym more regularly or whatever it is, right? We all have our healing paths. You don't have to go to a therapist for, your healing journey at that time,
Mhm.
whatever. I think therapy is wonderful.
Yeah, it's just
Like,
like whatever path when like you get there, sometimes you
right.
might take a curvier path, you're going on your own way. And I think that's kind of how I have done it. I've gone here, I followed my
Yes, like,
intuition and gone there, but
find a
then
coach or, something like that too.
feel like you
Yeah.
can also, I don't want to say fast track it working with someone like you, but like, let's just get there. Let's just go there. Let's,
So, yes, and I always say, like, I really understand that therapy is not for
Yeah.
everyone. But when you are ready and you
Yeah.
do want to take that step, finding someone who is a fit for you.
Yeah.
I might not be a fit for some people,
Oh yeah.
right?
I've had that too. We're like, oh, we're
And
just not.
yeah, we're just we don't vibe or whatever it
Yeah.
is, or like their approach isn't fitting for you. So what I found, and this leads into my course. So I do have a course called the Embodied Rise Method, and it uses the Illuminate Blueprint and teaches some of the things that I have conversations about with literally every client of mine. We talk about holistic health. We talk about nutrition. Like,
Mhm.
so I don't guide, I don't give them nutrition advice. We talk about, okay, what are
Yeah.
are you eating 3 meals a day? Are you snacking?
Hmm.
Do you think you're getting enough macros and things like that? Like, talk to your doctor about that. Find a holistic nutritionist to work with. Like, let's get you connected to a
Yeah.
professional so that, we can track that because food is medicine.
Yeah.
And if you are not feeding your body with food that your body
Mhm.
is okay with, I think of like food intolerances and
Yeah.
um, for people who have celiac disease, for example, like eating gluten, like
Right.
literally is like
I
poison.
was just
So
gonna say food, when you said food is medicine, like yes, it can
it
be, but
can
we also put a
be.
lot of poison in our body on the
That's
daily.
right, right, exactly. So being mindful and like, I have these conversations with clients about, okay, food, sleep, and movement. And what are you doing for yourself to, and is trauma or depression or anxiety or whatever they're experiencing a part of the reason why these things aren't working?
Yeah.
So, really getting down to the basics. And so, part of the Embodied Rise method includes some information on how to guide yourself in that, how to
Yeah.
seek support. And, that is really, really important. Having a foundation to start the healing process, to start the illuminate process, to start the
Yeah.
repatterning, to be able to really take on these different steps in the best way for your body. The Embody Rise Method is a 30-day course, and I take you through learning about IFS, learning about your parts, learning about your attachment style, learning about how that can impact relationships, yourself in the world. Um, there are all these different components. And then I do have meditations available, different vagus nerve activations, which is super fun. That was super fun to create.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so, and it's all trauma sensitive. It's very important that that is the case in this line of work. this course can lead you to that next phase, right? Like, so you have the groundwork, to be able to lie a foundation for rising. And that might look like, it might look like working with me in an EMDR intensive, which is definitely something that's available. And if it's not with me, please like seek someone out who is a good fit for you. Seek someone out who you vibe with, who can hold space for you, who has walked the same path that you have and really gets it, right? Because that's really, really important. And as a woman who has experienced trauma herself, I've been through divorce. I have been through some unhealthy relationships. I've raised a daughter who is quite amazing and incredible. She is, definitely a beautiful human. We all have been through these things, but that's really real. And to be able to work with someone who gets it, who has walked that path, who has been so depressed that she couldn't get out of bed as a therapist.
Yep. Right.
Like,
I mean, and that's honestly,
right?
that's who I want to work with. Is someone who has been there, done that, pulled themselves up.
Oh my
Because if
goodness.
you've never been through this,
been through the hard shit.
But then you're trying to teach it and help people.
Right. Yeah. And I know what it's like to have a dysregulated nervous system and still have moments of needing to tune in and using EFT and gathering these tools. And so the Embodied Rise Method is a toolkit. Like you get toolkits, you have like the ability to have little bits to add to your unique toolkit and be able to support yourself in that way. And then there also is a part of the Embodied Rise Method, a group. So the Illuminate Recovery Circle.
I love that.
So a group of women it's an online group that is part of the course where you can ask questions and cheer each other on, share wins, things like that. So, and that is so foundational, to healing.
Yes, it really is.
Like, right? Like that's why we're friends, because we are aligned and we support each other, and it's out of love and compassion and cheering each other on. It's that positive, but then like the real, like I'm not getting out of bed today. We're not recording the podcast.
No, not happening. But to allow someone safe to witness you in those moments and to hold space for you in those moments, not necessarily to fix you in those moments. It's not about that. But to witness, hold space, and just because that alone can be incredibly healing. But I think it's interesting, like, again, the timing of you coming back into my life, like, oh yeah, right. I mean, I'm looking at all of these because even more gets illuminated. The deeper you go, the more gets illuminated. And I feel like even with the gym on Sunday, we're getting ready to announce this.
Oh, yes.
This has been months in the making. You'd think I was emotionally regulated enough to prepare myself for that. And then all of a sudden I hit post and everything came out, and I was like, whoa, like I needed to ground myself. I was spinning the stories, all of those things, and to kind of go through that same process. And what I have learned, starting kind of this self-development, I mean, it started with that.
Right.
Those are the words I used.
Oh, right.
Back in 2015. It has always been about emotional regulation. I didn't know that. I had all these lofty goals, but I never felt safe in them.
Right.
So, and mindset work and all of those things, like you can do affirmations all day long in the freaking mirror.
That's right.
I've done a million of them, but until I truly have embodied my worthiness, it is going to show up in a million places to prove, like, really?
Are you
really? Sure? Do you really? And it has.
Yeah. Right.
So even with this gym, it's like, yes, I feel freaking worthy of it, but I have to get that final little test and push to be like, I need to truly embody this.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. So it's an ongoing process, and it's just layers of it. But when you have these tools, I can go to that. And, got in the bathtub and, reached out to someone or did all of these things, like, okay, I know what's happening. I recognize so quickly.
Right.
And that's part of it. Like, it's not that I'm never going to get activated.
No.
It's how can I support myself when I do?
That's right. Because you will constantly.
Yeah. And that was what I was like, okay. And then within probably an hour, I was like, okay, back to work and able to focus and do what I need to do. But otherwise, that would have completely paralyzed me for an entire day when I had a million freaking things to do and get caught in that. Now I'm so overwhelmed that I'm
it
paralyzed.
Like just adds up.
Yeah. And that's what we get into those patterns, and you recognize the patterns. Like everything that you just said, we experience this in our everyday
That's
life,
right.
big or small. And when you start to notice it, it's really hard to unnotice it. But then, like, give
No.
yourself the tools. So you
Right.
have those to go to. Like, okay, in this
Right.
moment, this would be helpful. That would be helpful. I can use
Yes.
the tapping. I can
Yes.
go outside. There's
Yep.
all these different things, but you have to be conscious of it.
Right. And then when you're repatterning, you're also becoming
Yeah.
conscious, right? That awareness phase is part of bringing that forward and recognizing, but then also like, yeah, like practicing, taking some time to integrate. And a 30-day course is not going to
Right.
heal your trauma. That is not my claim. I am not trying to heal
Nope.
your trauma in 30 days. It is it's a method to be able to get to the
Yeah.
point where you determine what your next step
Yes.
is and how to support yourself, how to really support your body in a way that is helpful for you particularly. So this isn't
Yeah.
like I'm giving you these things
Here's
and
a
like
magic wand.
yeah, right. This works for everybody.
Right.
No, it doesn't work for everybody, right? I should say every single tool isn't going to work for everybody. You can pick and choose what works for you and what doesn't and honor your body that way.
Well, I think that's with everything, even being a
Right.
dietitian. Not every diet or whatever is
Right.
going to work for everyone. Everyone has different eating patterns and preferences and childhood
Right.
wounds and all these things. And so
Yeah.
that's my job to figure out what actually supports you, works for you, isn't
Mhm.
going to activate you.
Right.
Because if I tell you all of a sudden we're going to get back on my fitness pal and you flip out because you got some trauma around that, probably not a great
Yeah,
idea.
that's probably not
but it
gonna
works for
work.
all of my clients. No. So yeah, it's
Oh my gosh.
and allowing yourself to go into this journey. Like, okay,
Right.
I'm getting into the car. I'm going to
Yep.
get on the road.
Yep.
And Cassandra has provided me with this beautiful blueprint on where I'm going to go get to that next
Yeah.
destination,
Yeah.
feeling safe that I know where I'm
Yes.
going. There's maybe some detours. I might have to stop along the way
I
and
might
get
have to
out.
reverse
Yeah.
and go back to the other exit.
But to just know that it is never going to be this straight linear path.
Right.
But when you can provide yourself with tools and resources, it can make all the difference.
That's right.
All the difference. So good stuff.
Yes.
Good stuff. So how can people find you? How can they work with you? How can they sign up for your
Absolutely.
course?
You can go to my Instagram.
Whoop.
So Cassandra N. Quick. And there will be a link in my bio that will take you to either register for the free masterclass. You can register directly for the course as well, and you can learn how to work with me in EMDR intensives, amongst other things. I've got some very incredible things coming in the future with retreats as well. So that will be available very, very soon. Right now, I'm only taking intensive clients. My schedule is full. I'm very grateful for that. It's just
People are doing the work. That's exciting.
whatever
People
the
are doing
path
work.
is, right? Like whatever your path is, if you just need a little bit of assistance and like maybe some inspiration, like some guidance, the masterclass might be a great way to start. So
I love that. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing, for
Yes,
supporting women, for sharing
absolutely.
your story,
Yes.
your mission, your purpose, all of those things, because this is how we help heal the collective
That's
is
right.
bringing that awareness and illuminating
Mm,
those things. So thank you for the work that
yes.
you do.
Thank you for having
And
me.
thank you for coming back into my orbit just when I
Yes. We're circling the orbit
you need that support,
together.
because truly it's like you are the epitome of women supporting women. And I'm so grateful that
Oh,
this is a
thank
period of my
you.
life where I need that.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
here for it.
Yeah.
And thank you for being there for me too.
Yeah. And you are an example too and I've talked about this many times on the podcast, is when you go through this journey, sometimes people leave your life.
Yeah.
And it can get really lonely and isolating and what did I do wrong and all those things. Like,
Yeah.
oh wait.
Yeah.
They were a beautiful chapter
Yeah.
in your life, but it's also making room for new friendships
Some new
and
connections.
because look at everything
And
you
like,
just taught me and now all these other people. Like, so thank goodness I was able to make space for you in my life. So
wow,
yes.
that's wonderful.
Some more
Thank you.
dancing.
More dancing. It's going to be
More
fun.
coffee dates.
Yep.
And then we've got all these other podcast ideas. So you'll
That's
see her back
right.
at some point.
That's
so.
right. I'll be back on.
Awesome. Well, any parting words for the guests, whether it's to their inner child or to their feminine or
Mm.
whatever is coming through?
That word wisdom is something I use a lot.
Yeah.
I use it with myself first,
Mhm.
right? Taking care of yourself. You have wisdom within you. And whatever that wisdom is guiding you into in this moment. Whether it's just hearing us and you're feeling inspired to call your friend, right? Tuning into that and honoring that today in some way.
Oof. I love that. Yes. Honor your inner wisdom. That's a good word. Try to find that. Use that in your day today. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I can't wait to have you back.
I can't wait.
Well, go find her. Go find her on Instagram. Check out her course, all of those things. And we will see you all next week. Oh, that was so good.